Welcome to the love universe. Welcome to the love universe, where we create.
You are listening to Layered Love Universe with Kendra Tamika, where we talk about it all, every single layer. Grab something to drink because we're about to get into it. Let's go. Hi, again. This is Kendra Tamika with Layered Love Universe, and we have made it to the end of our sprint, episode 7. 7 episodes, 7 days, 7 pillars. And if you have been here since episode 1, I want to say something to you directly before we go anywhere else. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Not in a generic way, obligatory end of podcast way. Genuinely. You chose to spend time with me this week. You showed up before there was a big audience, before there were impressive numbers, before any of this was polished and even proven. That matters to me more than I know how to say properly in a podcast intro. You are the founding members of this universe. And I do not forget my founding members. I save this episode for last because it is the outermost edge of my creative universe. The thing that even I did not fully see coming. The thing I am still a little amazed by when I say it out loud. I wrote a fantasy series, and I feel like there's more to come. I know, a pastry chef turned scrum master, turned memoir author, turned leadership consultant, turned fantasy writer. I contain multitudes, and so do you. We have established this comprehensively across 6 episodes. I have made my peace with it, and I genuinely hope you have too, because you have to take this seriously, because it is very serious and also very exciting. And the first book is already available on Amazon right now as we are having this conversation. Go look up She Who Commands, Where the Deep Begins by Kendra Tamika on Amazon. Go ahead and purchase it, get the book in the mail, grab a drink, sit down and enjoy entering the world of She Who Commands. All right, let me tell you something about She Who Commands properly, because this series deserves a real introduction, and I have been waiting all week to give it one. The series follows a protagonist named Tamdra Bell. Tamdra is 40 years old, Brooklyn born, a project manager living and working in contemporary New York City. She is smart and capable and navigating the particular kind of exhaustion that comes from being excellent in a world that does not always make space for women who are as capable as she is. She is also carrying something that most people in her life do not know about. Tamdra is what I call a trigrid. That is a term I created for someone who carries bloodlines from 3 supernatural lineages simultaneously. Not to get it mistaken with tribrid from the originals. This is trigrid. In Tamdra's case, those lineages are Siren, Airis, and Witch. Each bloodline gives her something and costs her something. The Siren lineage gives her a particular kind of presence and influence, a voice that draws people in whether she intends to or not. The cost is that it can be weaponized, used against her, turned into a vulnerability when she is not paying attention. The Airis lineage gives her a perception that goes beyond what most people can access. All right, you ready for another commercial break? Let me tell you about something I built with my whole heart. Remember Her Publishing. It is my independent imprint, and it is where all of my books live. The memoir that started it all, the leadership book with the frameworks that actually work in real life, the empowerment book for the woman who is done waiting for permission, the picture books in the Remember Her Girl series. That's for the little girl or the young ladies in your life. And yes, I'm creating a fantasy series because apparently I contain multitudes, and we all have accepted this by now. Everything is at rememberherpublishing.com, where you'll find something for you or one of your loved ones. All right, let's get back. Where are we now? Or awareness of the world at a frequency most humans cannot hear. That cost is that awareness is not always comfortable to carry. The witch lineage gives her power that is learned rather than instinctive, a craft that requires discipline and intention and constant cultivation. The cost is that it demands more than she sometimes has to give. The story of She Who Commands is the story of Tamdra learning to hold all three of those things at once, to stop managing her power in separate compartments and hiding part of herself in a different room and hiding parts of herself in different rooms depending on who is in the room. To figure out who she is when having all of that, to figure out who she is when all of it is acknowledged and integrated and fully unapologetically hers. I want you to notice what this story is really about, because in the same story I have been telling all week, it is the story of a layered woman learning to command all of her layers instead of apologizing for them. I just put it in a fantasy series because I love sci-fi, because apparently that was the container I needed. I needed to create a world where I can fully immerse myself in outside of just this normal world, the mundane world, as some people would say. Same question I asked in the memoir, same questions at the center of the leadership work, same question this podcast is built around. What does it look like when a woman stops hiding the full scope of who she is and starts living as all of it? And Remember Her, the answer is a healing story. In Paula's Clear Lead, the answer is the framework. In the Layered Love universe, the answer is a lifestyle and a philosophy. In She Who Commands, the answer is a fantasy epic set in contemporary New York with a woman who carries 3 supernatural bloodlines and is finally done managing herself for everyone else's comfort. Tamdra Bell shows up in my mind fully formed, her name, her age, her neighborhood, her career. What was she carrying and why was it heavy? And what was it going to take for her to finally stop running from it? I recognized her immediately. She is a version of a question I have been asking my whole life, and I could not put her down until I had written all 3 books. Let me tell you where the story stands right now, because this is the part that I am most excited to share. Book 1, Where the Deep Begins, is available right now on Amazon today, as in you can go and buy it and start reading it before the episode is over. The book took everything I had to write, and I am genuinely proud of every page of it. Where the Deep Begins is the introduction of Tamdra and her world. It is the book where she first begins to understand what she actually is and what that means for her life and the people around her. It is the book where the deep, all of it, where what she has been carrying, what she has been avoiding, what she is capable of begins. The title is not an accident. Nothing in this series is accidental. If you read one book from my catalog this year, I want it to be this one. Not because it is the most personal, though it carries a version of my most personal questions, but because Tamdra Bell is a character I believe in completely. She is going to mean something to the women who read her. I know it the way I know Remember Her was going to mean something before anyone had read it. That feeling just hasn't been wrong yet. Book 2, What She Carries, is coming in August 2026. And if Where the Deep Begins introduces you to Tamra and her world, What She Carries is where the real weight of the story begins to land. The things she had been carrying across her whole life, not just the supernatural elements, but the human ones, the losses and the choices and the relationships and the compromises she made to survive it. All of it comes forward in book two. I am not going to tell you more than that because I don't want spoilers and also because I want you to read the book one first. But I will say, August cannot come fast enough. The book is something I am very proud of, and I cannot wait for the people who loved book one to get their hands on it. Book three, She Who Remains, is coming October 2026. That is a culmination where everything that has been building across two books, every thread, every choice, every cost comes to rest, where Tamdra has to decide fully and finally who she is going to be, with all of it integrated and all of it acknowledged and nowhere left to hide. 3 books, book 1 available now, book 2 in August, and book 3 in October. All of 2026 belongs to She Who Commands, and I need you to be reading along. So go to rememberherpublishing.com or search She Who Commands, Where the Deep Begins by Kendra Tamika on Amazon. Get book 1 in your hands and then come find me and tell me what you think because I genuinely want to know. I want to tell you where She Who Commands came from because I think the origin story of a creative work says something. Okay, real quick before we get back to it. Can we talk about dessert for a second? Because I need you to know about Layered Love Gourmet. It is my luxury small batch dessert brand, and everything is made from scratch because I am a pastry chef and simply don't know how to do it any other way. The banana pudding alone has made grown adults emotional. I am not exaggerating. One woman said it tasted like a hug, and I put that on my refrigerator. Go to layeredlovegourmet.com and treat yourself to something real. You deserve it. That is layeredlovegourmet.com. All right, let's get back to the good stuff. More important about the work itself. I was not looking for a fantasy series. I was not sitting at my desk thinking, what I need right now is to build an entire supernatural world with its own mythology and its own rules and 3 full books worth of a plot. I had plenty of other things I was working on: the memoir universe, the leadership content, the food brand rebuild, the podcast you are literally listening to right now. But Tam just showed up. That is the most accurate way I know how to describe a creative experience that I still find a little hard to explain rationally. She arrived in my just daydreaming in my imagination, fully formed in a way that most ideas do not. And she arrived with urgency. It was like, this has to happen like now. Like she had been waiting and she was done waiting. I have learned over the years of making things to pay attention to that kind of urgency. When something shows up that insistently and that completely it is usually because it is carrying something real, something that needs to exist. And my job is not to decide whether the timing is convenient. My job is to show up and do the work. So I wrote the first book, and then I wrote the second, and then I wrote the third. And somewhere in the middle of the third book, I understood something about why this series needed to exist alongside everything else I made. Every other form I work in asks the question directly. The memoir, I ask it through personal narrative. The leadership work, acts it through framework. The podcast acts it through conversation. Fantasy asks the question through metaphor and myth, and the particular kind of safety that fiction provides. It lets people encounter a truth at a slight remove. It lets you then see something in Tamdra that they might not be ready to see in themselves yet. And sometimes that indirect path to a truth is one that actually gets there. I wrote 3 books, and if I'm honest with myself, I can already feel more stories in this space coming into this world. I do not know what shape just yet that will take or when that will arrive, but I have learned not to close doors on creative work that is still speaking to me. There's more in this universe than 3 books. I feel that. When the time is right, it will show itself. And for me, that gives me more joy than the completion of a project. I don't know if that makes sense, but it gives me so much more joy when I know that there's more to come. I just don't see it yet. I want to say something out loud that I believe completely and that I have not always said as plainly as I am about to say it. I want She Who Commands adapted for screen. I want Tamdra Bell on television or film. I believe this series has that range. I believe that world I built is rich enough and the character at the center of it is complex enough and the questions it asks are universal enough that it belongs in a visual medium where the largest possible audience can encounter it. I have built the materials to make that case. The series Bible, the one-page pitch, the catalog of 3 completed books, the publishing house that exists to support and amplify this type of work. I am actively pursuing the conversation that can move this from page to screen. So stay tuned. I say this not to sound grandiose. I say it because I have learned that from the dreams you were embarrassed to say out loud are usually the ones that actually matter. And I'm done being embarrassed. 2026 is I took embarrassment, set that sucker on fire, and left it in 2025. So I'm done being embarrassed about the size of what I believe this work is capable of. She Who Commands deserves a bigger vision than I can even fathom right now. Tamdra Bell deserves to be seen by the widest possible audience. So just watch out for this one. Watch it when it moves because trust me, it's going to move fast. Before I close this series, I want to name one more book because it has been sitting quietly in the background of every episode this week and it deserves its own moment. Live Her Out Loud. Stop shrinking and start living the life she deserved. 12 chapters, 3 parts, Why She Stopped, The Turn, Living Her Out Loud. It bridges directly from Remember Her, and it is the most direct invitation I have ever written for women who are done waiting and are ready to move. Once you remember her, now it's time to live her. If you have been nodding along to anything I said this week, this book is for you. The full Remember Her publishing catalog is at rememberherpublishing.com. The memoir, the leadership books, the picture books for the girls in your life, the planner, the curriculum, the empowerment books, and now She Who Commands, Where the Deep Begins, my fantasy series. Signed copies of everything are at kendratamika.com. Links are in the show notes. Go look. You will find something for yourself and probably something for someone close to you that you love. As we close, this sprint this week was 7 episodes. The nurturer who feeds people from a full place. The healer who told the truth even when it was hard. And another thing before we jump back in. If you are planning an event, a conference, a corporate retreat, or a women's gathering, and you need a speaker who is going to leave your audience actually changed and not just politely applauding, I want you to think about me. I am Kendra Tamika. I speak on leadership, the pause method, women's empowerment, entrepreneurship, and what it looks like to build a full life with intention. I bring the pastry chef energy to the keynote stage, and somehow it works every single time. Inquire at kendratamika.com. Tell them I sent you. Literally. All right, let's get back to the show. The builder who lost something and built it back better. The leader who brought her whole self into every room. The teacher who refused to gatekeep knowledge. And the woman who wrote a fantasy series because apparently she was always going to, and that was just part of her universe. I can see the vision. And I'm glad that the universe was patient enough to wait until I was ready. That is it. That is who I am. That is the full picture. No edits, no apologies. And I am not at the end of anything. I am at the beginning. This podcast is 7 episodes old. This channel is brand new. She Who Commands, Where the Deep Begins, just launched on Amazon. Book 2 comes out in August. Book 3 comes out in October. And the biggest moments in this universe are still ahead. And you are here for the beginning of it. I don't know how much that makes me happy, what joy that brings to my heart. Starting next Wednesday, new episodes will drop every week on here and on YouTube. We are going deeper into every pillar. We're going to go into the kitchen, do some baking. We're going to go into the boardroom, AKA my home office. And we're going to talk about homeschooling as well. We're going to talk about the publishing house. And we're going to talk about the world of She Who Commands. We're going to go into all of it because for me, none of it is separate. It is all considered under one universe, layered love universe, built on one foundation. The belief that you were never meant to be just one thing. So please subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen. Subscribe to the Layered Love Universe on YouTube. Come find me at KendraTamika.com and at RememberHerPublishing.com. Grab a treat for you and more to share for any loved ones that you have in your life at LayeredLoveGourmet.com. And if this week gave you something real, share it. Share it with the women in your life who needs to hear it, that her layers are not a problem to manage. They are the point. I am Kendra Tamika, pastry chef, author, agile leader, certified scrum master, homeschooling mom to a neurodivergent princess, entrepreneur, fantasy writer, woman who decided that the full version of herself was worth showing up as. This is Layered Love Universe, and we are just getting started. I will see you Wednesday, and I am so excited. So excited. And that is a wrap on this episode of Layered Love Universe with Kendra Tamika. In this episode, if it gave you something, please share it with someone who needed it today. Leave a review, follow the show, and come and find me at KendraTamika.com. Everything is there waiting for you. I will see you in the next one. Have an amazing day.